Well, Gary, Whitby Town's unbeaten start to the season, coming to an end this evening at Broadhurst Park. I'm sure you won't have too many complaints about the result in that one.
No, Bees has got himself a good team there, and if you got to hold your hands up sometimes and say you come up against a better team on the night, and especially second half. I think the first half was a bit nip and tuck. It was quite even. I felt like we had decent control at times, especially in the back third. We created some decent opportunities. We obviously scored a great goal, and coming in at half time, it was all to play for. But I just said there, for us to win games of football, we need to make sure we're at it for the full 90 minutes. And I think second half, we seem to be a yard or two off in all aspects. And I think if I'm being honest, I think the best team won on the evening. And congratulations to them, and obviously plenty of stuff that we can improve on and get better at going into Hyde at the weekend.
Yeah, and just looking at the start of the match, you could see early on that, you referenced on Saturday about FC United having that break at the weekend, and you could just see early on they were looking really sharp, and it took a while to get going, and ultimately they fell behind on the back of that. Yeah,
I think we grew into the game, and obviously it's not ideal to fall a goal behind, but maybe that's what it took us to get into the game. And marginal offside, I'll have to watch it again and see if it was offside. I don't know, but a decent finish from their lad. And as I said, it might have took us that to get back into the game, and we sort of got a little bit of control after that, and a little bit of interplay, switch from late, and then a great goal from DC brought us right back into the game. And the lads were confident after that. We had another couple of half chances after that. Wasn't to be, and obviously going into half time at 1-1, like I said earlier, it was all to play for. But we just weren't at the race the second half, and I think the only real opportunity we had on their goal was the one-on-one at 1-1, and big moments like that change games, and when you don't take those, it can certainly come back to bite you, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and that chance from Ronnie McGrath at the start of the second half, it was again sort of on the back like the first half of a bit of pressure from the home side there, and like referenced there, those far margins that goes in it could have been a completely different game entirely, but as it goes up the other end, Adam Lafondra showing his experience there.
Yeah, and he's good at that, isn't he? He can always have quiet games, Alfie, and he always pops up with a goal, and that's exactly what he's done. But the build up to it, I'm a bit disappointed with the decision to award them a free kick. I don't think it was a foul from Guinness. I feel like he's nicked the ball, and the referees gave a decision, which the goals obviously come from that. But I feel like we can defend it better, and it's bounced around a few times, and we haven't quite cleared it, and then it's bounced to Alfie, and he does what he does best and sticks it in the net. But I think it was like that most of the second half. We just seemed a little bit scruffy second half. We didn't quite get hold of the ball. We didn't get that first pass off. We sort of scuffed out clearances, and it was a second half where the lads know that it wasn't quite where we need to be. Plenty to improve on, and we'll do that. I shouldn't take away from the start we've had, but we want to be better than that, and we want to do something this season, and it's games like this where you need to be coming to these places and trying to get a result and taking something away, but tonight it wasn't to be.
Yeah, and a big call at the other end. You mentioned there about decision that went against Nathan McGinley. Then at the other end, Whitby had that corner, the Matty time, and it looked like a good couple of hands around him there, but nothing given. Again, those key moments, Whitby probably didn't create the chances, but at the same time, a big shout for a penalty there.
Yeah, I could see it from the dugout, and he happens to him every week, to be fair. And I don't know whether it's because he's a decent sized lad himself, and he gets around players and gets above players. But when defenders have got hold of people's shirts like that, it's you just want the referee to be a little bit braver. But it wasn't that because we lost the game today. We lost the game because we weren't quite at the race the second half, and that's something that we'll need to look at going into the weekend.
Yeah, and I think as well you've got to just look at the scorers for FC United this evening. I would have mentioned Adam Lafondra, but then Andre Wisdom, another highly experienced player. So that just shows the calibre of opposition we'll come up against this evening.
Yeah, and like we've just said in there, and I've just said that they are a really good team. They've recruited well. They've got the same front lads, but he's recruited well at the back end of the pitch in terms of a goalkeeper and a couple of defenders. Andre's obviously coming in the middle of the pitch for them, which stabilises in that sense. So they've always been a decent team in an attacking sense, and they've proved that. I think they came out with real intensity. I can't remember too many times second half where we were able to control possession, especially in the back end of the pitch, like we did first half, and that's probably testament to them and how they kept their tempo and up their tempo second half. But no, we'll like I said, we'll look at the positives. We've created chances first half. We've had decent possession first half. We've created chances on the back of that possession. And no, it was pleasing to watch at times, but also at times there's obviously stuff where you want to reflect and improve on.
Yeah, and then just looking ahead to the next match, first of all, it's another trip across the M62 on Saturday to Hyde, and that's ahead of a game against Hebburn just 48 hours later, so I'm sure your squad's going to be fully utilised over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, and we've got a few niggles, I think. DC came in with his foot pouring of blood. He's got a nasty gash right across the front of his foot, which probably going to need some stitches or some glue or something like that. So hopefully he'll be all right. He got through the game, but obviously he's running on adrenaline, so we'll have to see how that reacts. Woody's obviously come off with a little niggle, so we'll have to see how that is. So no, from having a decent sized squad to then have it coming off the back of tonight with a few niggles, we'll see where we are. Busy weekend obviously, so as you said, all players will be needed, and we'll do the best we can. Yeah,
and another injury as well that thankfully didn't look to be as bad as it at first feared, but Lewis Hawkins as well, is he all good and ready to go this weekend?
Yeah, Hawkins is fine. You feel the worst, don't you, when a player stays down with a head injury for that long. But no, he seems to be all right. He came off probably with Saturday in mind more than anything at 3-1 down. So no, as far as I know, he's fine and good to go.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.